MSI is almost a household name in the world of gaming PCs. Yet, despite their best attempts, they have not found much success in the non-gaming domain. I don't mean to spoil the forthcoming review, but the MSI Prestige 14 Evo that I have with me right here is a pretty decent thin and light machine with a few imperfections. First off, I am particularly fond of how portable it is. Weighing just 1.3 kgs and with a slim form factor, I could simply pop it into my backpack and almost forget that it's there in the first place. Considering how this is one of the biggest selling points of this machine, I would say that MSI has nailed the portability aspect. It also comes in an all-metal build just like its predecessor, and hence it does not attract nearly as many smudges either. Also, thanks to its subdued blue accent throughout the edges, it adds to a bit of flair. Now, it's not a convertible laptop, but you can push the hinge to a straight 180 degrees like this. You're also getting a special hinge, as MSI calls it. It raises the device by 5 degrees for more comfortable typing experience and a more efficient cooling solution. Talking about cooling, as expected, it has a single fan solution with patterned intake vents on the bottom and the exhaust hidden in the hinge itself. Similarly, the port selection on this thing is pretty decent as well. You get two USB Type-C connections on the left, both of which support DisplayPort, Thunderbolt 4 and power delivery charging. You will find a USB 2.0 Type-A port on the right, alongside a microSD card reader and a 3.5mm mic/headphone jack combo. Now, jumping to the display side of things, it's a standard 14 inches FHD IPS panel. MSI says that it covers around 100% of sRGB or 72% of NTSC color space, and from what I can tell, its color reproduction is pretty decent. Content looks sharp and vibrant enough to not distract you from the task at hand. The company also mentions that the Prestige 14 equips a low power panel for a better battery endurance. Regardless, this 300 nits panel does not get very bright. In a daylight setting with plenty of ambient light, you will struggle to see the screen content even at max brightness. However, for indoor usage, this screen's illumination is more than sufficient. I also have no complaints regarding the viewing angles here. I could not notice any sort of screen bleeding either. Moreover, it also inherits anti-glare coating, so using it in room filled with multiple light sources has been no problem. But seeing how this is a business and productivity grade machine, I wish MSI had gone with a newer 16:10 aspect ratio rather than sticking to the old 16:9 standard. Moving on, I've enjoyed typing on this laptop so far. Its chiclet style keys are well spaced out and are almost impervious to any degree of rattles. 1.5mm key travel still remains my personal favorite, and the Prestige 14 Evo's keyboard embodies the same travel distance. As a result, I've had very few mistypes throughout my time. On top of this, its 5-degree hinge has also amplified the typing experience. I did notice slight flex in the keyboard chassis, but only with a significant pressure, so nothing to worry about. As expected, these are backlit as well, and you can choose from 3 levels of illumination. Although if I really had to nitpick, the one thing that I would have done differently is separate the function and the right control key. Another one of Prestige 14's forte is its ultra-wide trackpad. On top of its sheer size, this trackpad is silky smooth to touch. Anyway, this glass trackpad has integrated left and right keys as well. While they click well enough, I just wish the key distance was a little shorter. It also gets pretty loud, and the key travel distance makes it feel almost plasticky. Other than that, this trackpad handles multi-finger gestures, including the pinch to zoom, perfectly. I also rarely encountered any instance of accidental touches, and MSI deserves a pat on the back for this. But what I do not appreciate is the fingerprint sensor that is integrated into the trackpad itself. On top of creating an ineffective dead zone, its placement is pretty awkward too. Also, sometimes it fails to recognize your finger altogether if it's even slightly sweaty or wet. For your video calling needs, MSI has installed a 720p IR webcam on the top. However, there is no dedicated privacy shutter here, which is a little disappointing. Oh, and this one's Windows Hello certified too, so you have a couple of secure authentication options here. Okay, as for the webcam's quality, it looks strictly average, but I think it's passable for a laptop. The footage comes off grainy and the subject looks a little soft too, and in addition, its audio pickup is not anything exceptional either. The Prestige 14 Evo's audio quality is also okay-ish. It has a bottom-firing stereo speaker setup whose left and right separation is not half bad, and even though it does not get quite as loud as you'd want, I feel it to be adequate for an average-sized room. Listening to it at a full volume, there is hardly any distortion to be heard, and with a keen pair of ears, you will be able to enjoy some detail in the audio as well. Nonetheless, don't expect an immersive listening experience as you would have with high-end laptops though. Okay, let's finally get into the performance side of things. Powering the MSI Prestige 14 Evo is the latest Intel Tiger Lake U processor. Our review unit has the Core i5-1135G7 CPU inside, which has been paired with 16GB of DDR4 RAM and 512GB of M.2 NVMe PCIe Gen 4 SSD. This particular variant goes for around $1,100 in the US, but it's a bit expensive here in Nepal, retailing at 1,70,000 Nepali rupees. For more raw power, MSI also sells a Core i7 variant. In terms of upgrades, there's not much that you can do here since the RAM is soldered onto the motherboard. Thankfully, if you don't find 16 gigs enough for your use case, there is a 32GB option as well. Unfortunately, MSI does not ship either configuration with a dedicated GPU here. However, with the spacious 16GB RAM at play, I am yet to encounter any memory management issues. This device can keep things intact even after switching back to an app after leaving it idle for a while. Weirdly enough, I did encounter a couple of instances when the laptop refused to wake up after automatically going to sleep. Therefore, I've had to force restart the device to get into it. Moving on, I am pretty impressed with its PCIe Gen 4 SSD. Apps install and open up quickly here. Just look at the Crystal Disk Mark score. Nice, isn't it? I clocked my routine applications like Adobe Photoshop CC 2021 and LibreOffice Writer to open at an average of 8 and 2 seconds respectively. However, the biggest issue about this laptop is its thermal solution, which for me is a deal breaker. It heats up quite easily and quite fast too. So for something that is meant to be used in the office or during meetings, it forces you to turn on the loud fans every now and then. And because of the heating issue, keeping my hands on the keyboard chassis would be a challenge. Even with the fan working at full speed, the laptop does not cool down as quickly or as much as you'd hope for. Coming to battery life, I would say it's pretty average. It has a 52 watt-hour battery, which sounds fairly large for a 14-inch laptop. But the best I could squeeze out of this machine was around 6 hours, with the lowest number clocking to just 4 hours. I would keep the screen brightness at around 50% while mostly using Chrome, so yeah, not the best battery life for an Ultrabook. Charging up the battery is pretty quick though. Using the 65-watt AC adapter, this laptop climbs to 75% in an hour, while getting to 100% takes about 50 minutes more. To enhance battery health, there is also an option to stop the charge at 50 or 70% under the MSI Center for Business and Productivity. So wrapping it all up, the MSI Prestige 14 Evo's excellent portability is ultimately haunted by its lackluster thermal performance and an average battery life. For a laptop that costs well over $1,000, these shortcomings are well just too big for me to make a recommendation. I think there are plenty of other better Ultrabooks at this price range I recently reviewed, like the Asus ZenBook 14 or the HP Envy X360. So that was all for our full review of the MSI Prestige 14 Evo. We're coming up with a couple of other laptop reviews as well, so stay tuned to GadgetBite and do not forget to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe to our channel. Till then, I'm Pratima Adhikari and thank you so much for watching.